Welcome to the Alternative Dog Moms Podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom for more than 10 years. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I began raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott from the Believe in Dog podcast. For more than 10 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself. And I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned in case it could help you too. As the Alternative Dog Moms, Kimberly and I are bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and the brilliant people we're meeting along the way. Now let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
It feels so funny recording on a Monday, but nobody else does that, I guess.
I know. So, lots been going on recently.
Yeah.
I think the thing that we probably should start with is the fact that we're at the end of Pet Dental Month.
Yes.
I did post things about it on social media, but we have yet to speak about it. And what I find interesting is that everything that we're doing for our dogs for their dental health, we learned, or at least I know I did, some of the stuff you already knew from interviews. So starting with teeth and then started adding, but you were already doing that. There we interviewed Tim from WinPros about their chews. There's also, well, we didn't interview him this year, but I think it was last year we interviewed Kate from Feed Real. So, and we also have interviewed in the past Ruby from Real Dog Box. And I use those. We've interviewed Dr. Ian Billinghurst and Dr. Tom Lonsdale, who are very big proponents of raw meaty bones. It's been, I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, we interviewed the ladies from Cocoa Therapy.
Yeah.
Because I use their coconut oil, except for I used to put is it something breath? Dog breath, I think it is, the essential oil from Animalio.
Mm-hmm.
I used to put that into coconut oil, but I stopped buying Animalio products back in 2020 or 2021 because things were kind of scattered all over the place and shipping was weird. And so I sort of got out of the habit of ordering it. And what I had, I eventually threw away because I was worried about it oxidizing.
The shelf.
So, yeah. And then I realized I could just use kelp. So I started mixing kelp with coconut oil and using that to brush my dog's teeth.
Yeah, that's actually from my vet. She says use coconut oil and can use a little bit of baking soda and then use like soft gauze on your finger, like kind of wrap your finger in gauze and just kind of run it. So I do that for Neno. We are not there with Nessie's cooperative care skills yet. So she gets the other things, but she's younger. And with Neno, it's really only been this last year or two I've even needed to do that. His teeth have looked really good up until recently, and doing this has really helped with some of the funk that was on there. And he had a funky spot on his teeth that were right up at his gum line, and some of the ozone took care of that. And it's not puffy or red or anything anymore. So
very nice.
Worked out really well. I have my recording buddy here. Hopefully I can edit out any sounds that she made. But
I know when I saw that video, I completely thought of you. I mean, it's like any video of a dog dragging someone. It's like, I think, oh.
So Nessie had a very busy day yesterday. It was our first time having nosework class since before the holidays because the weather was actually cooperative for a change. And so she came home and was just zonked out the whole rest of the night and all day today. A very busy day.
Yeah, we actually haven't been very busy. We're still working on our home projects. We're like running down to the end almost. So we're getting new carpet on Friday. And so we've had to empty out all the rooms, paint all the rooms. Tomorrow and Wednesday, I'll be going through and doing a little bit of touch-ups here and there. And then the carpet comes on Friday. And then we start moving everything back into the rooms, each appropriate room, which is going to be so nice. And then still need to finish up my bathroom and my office. But I'm just sort of like, it'll happen when it happens. I'm just like astounded about how much we've done. So the dogs have been a tad bit neglected. I mean, we haven't gone anywhere. We've just been playing in the yard, and no one has left the property since that one fateful day. So that's a nice relief.
So what will you do with the dogs when the carpet's getting delivered?
Well, depending upon what the weather's like, I might put them outside when
Okay.
when the people arrive and start bringing stuff in. But if the weather's not cooperative, it's like pouring down rain. I'll just the we have where I am now is I'm in the dining room, and over there is the living room, and we have pocket doors
Mhm.
to close them up. And so I just basically close up the pocket doors. One of them, Apollo knows how to open. So I usually close the pocket doors and then I put a baby gate in front of it because he's the one that's going to be the most problematic because people, more people to love me. He doesn't understand why he will, like, if he's allowed to be loose in the house, he'll just go upstairs and be with them the entire time because he'll just go and sit down with his tongue hanging out, ready to be pet and adored. So,
Why is
but
there this big dog-shaped lump under the carpet? So you
exactly,
wouldn't get out of the way.
exactly. Oh, but I did have fun ripping up carpet yesterday. That was some work, but I got it done. I'm quite proud of myself.
I feel like you guys have moved pretty quick on this.
I know. I'm actually, I mean, Johan hasn't been working. He's just just went back to work. So he's been spending his weekends doing it. He's not a happy camper right now because his back hurts and yeah, it's been all his time. Um, and I help what I can do, but there are just many things that I have no clue how to do. And he starts using words that are just not in my vocabulary. So I know how to paint and now I know how to rip up carpet. So that's my duty. So but otherwise, yeah, the dogs will be fine. I think Bella might be a little nervous with all the activity, but I don't think it'll be too I think they'll be able to come in and out like maybe in a couple hours, maybe a few hours. There's 3 rooms that they're doing. So hopefully they'll come in, knock it out, and leave. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So another thing that I noticed oh, you sent me the study about the effect of bovine colostrum. And okay, so it was funny because probably a week ago, maybe even 2 weeks ago, Billy sent me a text message with a picture of, he put it on social media too, with a box of colostrum that he got for free. And I just sent it. I think my message back was like, I hate you. I mean, 'cause it's just like,
Was it just an emoji?
I know exactly. Yeah, and it must well be because he'll do that because he knows it's just like, gosh, I have no idea. Colostrum is so known on the East Coast. I don't see anyone talking about, I mean, raw milk, but not colostrum.
Oh, interesting.
And so it's just like what I've been, and I actually did. That day when he sent that, I started going and looking online to see are there any local farms that have nothing. I couldn't even figure out how to Google it to actually get what I need because apparently it's used in a lot of beauty products.
Oh.
So that's all I was getting was beauty products. And I'm just like, this is not what I want. And I'm pretty sure that's not real colostrum in there.
Yeah, yeah, it's like something processed out of it, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know what the people who are very anti raw milk, how they feel about colostrum. And I mean, if they go hand in hand.
Yeah, so I would call it more of a literature review where they kind of pulled all the different studies that have been out
Hmm.
there about colostrum for dogs and kinda, like, put it all together and said, like, "This is what the research is out there." And what's really interesting to me is the people who did this work for Purina,
Yeah.
and they disclosed that.
Okay. So I'm going to say something very controversial. I don't think Purina is that bad. I don't think they're that great. but I don't think that they're that bad. And I feel the same way about Hills. And what I can appreciate about those companies is because of their market share, they have tons of money to throw into studies or study reviews and looking into this information. And granted, I don't see any of them furthering the study to start creating products because ultimately it has to be about, the bottom line. And I'm gathering they have shareholders to please. But when I thought about Animal Biome working with, I think it was Hills, and everyone was so upset about it, but it was just sort of like, imagine the impact. I mean, gosh, speaking to Dr. Holly Gantz for an hour makes me change. Gosh, having a consultation after the testing with her staff makes me change things and want to do better. So it's like maybe a scientist with a scientist. I mean, I can imagine the impact she can have on people because I think that even though, you know, these kibble companies have been demonized, and in some cases, rightly so, I think the actual human beings behind these companies are dog lovers and they want their dogs to live a long time. And they believe in the science that they have. But if they are actually starting to look into, just like what are all these people talking about? Let's just look and see what they have to say. Just maybe, even if the company won't make a change, I just think about, I'm curious to know, like, for instance, how many people who work for Purina feed raw?
Oh, I was just sitting here thinking, I wonder how many work for Purina actually feed Purinas.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, there's so many things that we just don't know. And I think it's funny because people so quickly, that's why I won't get involved in conversations where people are just trashing a brand because maybe it makes people feel better, but it doesn't really accomplish anything. I'm more interested in what's really going on, not what I kind of think or I'm judging or whatever. I'm really curious about the people behind the brand because I know that they love their animals just as much. Just like people who feed kibble. It's not like they feed kibble because they're like, screw that dog. I'm just going to feed him kibble. No, they actually truly believe that this is the best thing for their dogs. But I've seen over the years so many people who feed kibble have slowly made changes and are adding, like, if people are feeding, all my friends who feed kibble add fresh food. And, they don't do that because I told them to do that. They just do it because it just made sense to them. And it's one of those things where it's not a waste. They don't waste any food anymore. Like people who raise their own chickens, they get so many eggs that now their dogs are just constantly getting eggs. And it goes with other things. All the people I know who are homesteaders, if a eagle or a hawk kills a chicken, that chicken is going to be consumed. So nothing, gets wasted. And it's kind of cool just to see that the changes can happen. And if Purina is very much into looking at the health side of things, and if this is just this little sliver of hope of two scientists saying, this is interesting. um, just maybe a lot of people that work there, they started out feeding Purina, but maybe there's a few of them out there that are feeding raw.
I
Just
was
under.
just imagining that, in 2 or 3 years at Super Zoo, it'll be like
I know.
colostrum infused kibble.
I've been waiting for that. I've been waiting. Well, because it started with the not the raw coated kibble, but just the freeze dried bits in kibble, and then the raw coated kibble. And I really feel like I was waiting. It was like several years ago before the pandemic. I was waiting for the CBD infused
Mm.
kibble because that was the hot word.
Well,
But
there
I'm
is
also,
CBD treats and everything now.
I know. and and now I'm curious about what is the colostrum, and you know kind of like the message that people have been pushing that's anti raw milk. and raw goat's milk. I'm curious if in 6 to 9 months, we'll see those same people pushing colostrum products. Like now that's kind of okay. And that's the kind of the switch some in the pet industry are making, especially since some people are afraid of raw milk or even raw goat's milk because of the avian flu.
I still don't know how I feel about all that.
I don't either. I mean, I'm not going to stress myself out about it. It is what
Yeah.
it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I honestly think that although I don't feel that my dogs are at risk, they don't eat a whole lot of poultry. I mean, they do eat duck and they do eat turkey. They were eating pheasant, but I'm not able to source pheasant. I have some in the freezer, but after that's gone, it'll be the last of the pheasant. And they occasionally have quail. But, you know, I think that my dogs are fine. But, we also live in a rural area where they're exposed to birds. I mean, they don't really go and get the birds. The birds are fast enough to fly away, and the dogs kind of got over trying to chase after them. But I don't know as far as like, how they say like bird poo has salmonella. So I don't know like if they're pooing on the grass and my dogs are running and playing in the grass, or I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be. It feels like people are really concerned, which I mean, let's pay attention, but it doesn't feel the same level of concern as 2020. So
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
I'm not seeing constant news reports or anything. I'm just seeing something here and there. Every now and then, a brand will start talking about it, and then it'll just quietly go away. So I'm not quite sure what to think of it myself.
Or Susan Thixton's news, because then the new buzzword is non-negative.
I know, I know, I know. So basically, I mean, it's just like I don't understand why they would use the word non-negative if they mean inconclusive, because that's reading up on that. It made it seem like it was just the testing results were inconclusive, so they needed to test again. But they said non-negative. So it's like, so it wasn't inconclusive. It's just, and this is tinfoil hat, it just wasn't the result that you wanted. So
Right.
you're going to continue testing, hoping to get the result that you want.
That's how it
That's
feels.
yeah, that's what it feels like is happening. And I don't believe in it. I love that she's just sitting here like, hello,
Yeah, she just has her front legs up on my lap and
hello,
just hangs out here.
pay attention to me. I know eventually, I won't say his name because he'll come, but the dog whose name begins with an A, my dog that's named after a Greek god, he walked up, and he came and lay down closer to me, but usually he will come and just put his head in my lap while I'm talking. Yay. So real mushrooms, mobility chews.
They have a new product, yeah.
Yes. I just love real mushrooms. I made myself a shake this morning. Have you seen like, I don't know if influencers, yeah, influencers are talking about it, but mostly I've seen like little commercials. I don't remember what it is, but it's something greens,
Athletic greens?
athletic greens. Thank you. So Costco has some type of version of that we buy, and it's super healthy, tons of antioxidants, all that lovely stuff. And your camera is so clear when it focuses in on her. It's like I can reach in and just touch her. She's so sweet. But so I add that, and I just add in additional like blackberries, and I like pineapple, and I also add in like a scoop of cordyceps mushrooms and a few other things. Plus there's the mushrooms that I take every day. And I'm so glad that I did it this morning because I have a deadline today. And I was like sharp all day getting stuff
In
done.
the
And
zone.
yeah, I'm just almost finished. I actually would have been finished by 5, but I had to stop. I had to go someplace and do something and come back. But I will be finished before midnight, which I'm very excited about because there have been other nights where I've worked till 11 or worked till midnight. But tonight I am almost done and I'm so excited. And I am so excited about the cordyceps. I absolutely love it.
Well, I started my 5 defenders recently because if I start them now, by the time like allergy season fully
Mm,
kicks in,
yep.
I'm like all up to
Oh, I'm so excited to see if it helps because it so has helped me. I mean, I still have allergies, but it's crazy because I have to remind myself of what it was like because, when you get used to it, then it's just like, oh my God, I'm so miserable. But it's just like, no, I couldn't sleep at night because I couldn't breathe and I was absolutely miserable. I couldn't wear makeup because my eyes were just a mess. It was horrible. And I just don't have those experiences anymore. It's just regular old, like, sometimes I just feel like I have allergies and, you know,
It really
I
helped me
take
in the fall, so I'm excited to see how it'll work
yeah,
for this.
I absolutely love it.
And
So,
I'm gonna see Dr. Rob Silver soon on his book tour.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So he definitely has a bunch of Mid-Atlantic dates, so that's great because some people forget about us here in the Mid-Atlantic.
That's how I feel up here in the Pacific Northwest. No one ever comes around here.
Everybody comes there.
No one comes here. The only person we get is Billy because he works for Green Juju.
Rita
Yeah.
Hogan has like 18 dates in the Pacific Northwest. You'll be fine.
She doesn't they're in Portland.
I don't know where that is.
That's in Oregon.
Oh, okay.
It's several hours away. I mean, granted, yes, but I don't driving more than 2 hours is an ordeal for me.
Yeah, I get that. She will be in the East Coast in the summertime, though. So.
So I'm hoping she has some dates like in Seattle or North. That would be amazing. But yeah, so far I've only seen things in Portland. So it's just like, that's okay. Portland loves her too. They deserve to have the information. I was going through her book. I was, Sydney. I've been thinking about Sydney a lot. So I've been saying her name a lot by accident. Zoe is, she's 11 and she's slowing down. She's still active. She and I were playing soccer today and she was running around but she's slowing down. And so I was wanting to know, like, what can I add to her meals to just sort of support that and help her? And I have no idea how I landed on dandelion greens and dandelion root, but it started. And so I went to Rita Hogan's book and started reading different things. And I don't know how I did it. I think I Googled something and then it led me to that. So I grabbed her book. But I ended up basically sitting in bed with all these books surrounding me, going through each one and reading them. And I wrote a post today about like the books that just never make it back on the shelf because I'm constantly going through them and marking stuff up and finding different information. And I love her book,
Yes,
but I was
it's
going back and
so.
forth between her book and there's a mushroom for that. And just highlighting, and I'll be doing the same thing, probably every night this week, just going through and putting post-its and highlights,
Yes.
just because I want to make sure that Zoe is taken care of. And what's interesting, and I need to look this up because I don't know it off the top of my head because I'm still learning, but there is a difference between the benefits of dandelion greens and dandelion roots. And what's interesting is that I thought that there would be like some type of organic powder supplement that would have them both, but most of them seem to either be the leaf or the root. And just as a quick Google search, the dandelion leaf is high in vitamins A and C, potassium, calcium, iron. Wow, it's basically a whole bunch of stuff. But that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to know about the benefits, and I can't find that very quickly. But they support different benefits. If you can't just do one and think that you're getting everything you need. So here, I just found it. Dandelion root. So potent antioxidants and supports liver health and is great for the detox. And then the dandelion leaf, which supports digestion. And one of the things that I remember reading was when you're adding it to your dog's food, to just be careful about how much you're adding because of that digestive effect. You may be supporting it more than you want. But I basically, because I warm up bone broth to pour over their meals. So in the morning, I just put a little bit into the bone broth while it's warming up. So that it kind of the leaves and the root steeps in the bone broth
Oh,
and then pour it over the dog's meals and mix it in.
That's a really good idea.
And so far, so good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
but
really good
I'm
idea.
giving it to all the dogs, but it's mostly for Zoe because I just wanna help with, keeping her inflammation down, keeping the mobility up, keeping her metabolism up, making sure that she is properly detoxing, that she has healthy liver and kidneys. And again, even though she had those 2 teeth pulled, I'm still supporting her dental health and making sure the rest of her teeth are healthy and good.
Yeah, I love Rita's book. I feel like I have already learned a million things that I had questions about or how different systems and things interact with each other, and she just does such an amazing job. And that's just I haven't even gotten into reading the monographs or anything. This is just kinda like
Mhm.
those first few chapters. I'm just like, "Oh my god."
So, when you read books, do you go cover to cover or do you bounce around?
A little of both?
I just bounce around.
I definitely bounce around.
Yeah, I rarely read cover to cover, and I probably should. I think the only book that I sat and read cover to cover was probably, Feeding Dogs, because it was just to me, it was the first book of its kind, and then the, Dr. Thomas Sandberg books, I read those cover to cover. Leave a Dog a Bone or Give a Dog a Bone, I read that cover to cover, but for the most part, I basically start at the index and look for it, and I remembered the reason why is because Zoe seems to be very hot, and I was wondering, can a dog go from being kinda neutral to a hot dog? I mean, because I don't have a whole lot of experience with a super hot dog or a super cold dog outside of Rodrigo, who is definitely a hot dog, and compared to him, all my other dogs just seem neutral and fine, so maybe she's always been a warm to hot dog, and I've just never really noticed it because her symptoms aren't as severe. And I mean, they're not severe at all, but his were so severe that basically everything that I did for all the dogs was based on what I was doing for him because he was sort of like the catalyst for everything. But I've noticed that, she seeks out cool places to lay down. Sometimes she'll just be in the garage. Like I'll let her outside to go to use the bathroom and they go through the garage to go to their yard. And I'll go looking for her and she's just laying on the concrete in the garage. And it's just sort of like, you know, is she too hot? And what can I do for that? And that's what got me going down the rabbit hole. And what I love about Rita Hogan's book is she has that huge section on energetics. And it's just I absolutely love that. And I also love the fact that you can't you can't just add something to your dog's diet and yay, you're fixed. I mean, because everything works together with other things. And so you have to really be mindful about what you're adding. So for instance, with Zoe, there's a lot of things I can add to her diet, but also they're either warming or hot things. And so while they may help with some things, they're going to make her miserable in other ways. And so just dandelion is a cooling, or I think it's cooling or neutral. It's a food, whereas turmeric is a hot one. So just figuring her out and figuring out what she's gonna do. Have you started or did you ever start Job?
Yes.
And how did they do?
So I've only done it sporadically with Nessie because she's still younger. I'm actually doing the WinPro with her regularly now. But then with Neno, he had that slip on the ice that caused him to start limping. So I feel like it's hard for me to ascertain
Mhm.
uh, but I will say he only strained a muscle, nothing, no permanent damage. He's already back to normal. We still put some arnica on him, like, before or after we walk a lot. We even did are back to doing our big block walk, and that one has, like, kind of a steep
Oh, good.
downhill that, can be hard on him and cause him to limp, and he did fine. And he was still able to jump on the bed at night, and
Oh, nice.
so I feel like we had a bit of a stumble, but we recovered quickly and fully. So,
Yeah.
I mean, for he's got to be at least 11 or 12. So, I feel like that's all you can ask for. And
Right.
he still trots all around the house.
I mostly give it to Zoe because she's my senior, and she's doing real she loves it, and the other dogs, they sort of, like, get one. and she gets two. And then, but they also get the WinPro hip and joint as well. And so everyone's doing really well. I'm actually really happy with Zoe because she is slowing down and she is having like, it sucks when it's wet outside because the steps are slippery for her, and things like that. So wanting to be careful that she doesn't fall down and hurt herself. But she's been doing really well. So I'm keeping up with it.
Now, what's interesting is with Neno, he was definitely more of a warm dog when he was younger, but I definitely think he's gotten a little, almost like a little cooler as
Hmm.
he's gotten older. And it's interesting with Penny, looking back, I think she was a very cool dog, and I wish I had done more to support that, because I
Hmm.
don't know that I definitely not for, like, the whole time that we had her. Maybe the tail end of us having her those last couple years, I was doing the warm water with her food or letting it sit out some, but I know there's times when they would just get it right out of the fridge, and now I'm like, "Oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Oh, I wish I had done, like, the bone broth or something with her," because she has, like, all of her bladder issues are all perfectly in line with cool dog issues, and I'm
Hmm.
just like, "Oh, I wish I had done more to support that now."
I know, isn't it just the killer? I mean, it's like, the more other dogs can benefit from everything that you learn. So, Rodney has been in the news.
He's been very busy lately.
Very busy. It was kind of cool seeing him being recognized.
Yes.
I mean, and I didn't understand why, if it was just something that they do, sort of like
Yeah,
how here they bring people in to ring the bell for the stock exchange,
yeah.
if it was that type of thing.
Like, I had to look it up because I don't know enough about Canada to know how their government is structured, but, like, it would be like if the state of Washington, said, "Hey, we're gonna recognize Kimberly for being this pet advocate," or something, like, it would be
I feel like that would never ever happen in here. What astounded me was how warm it was. Like, everyone's applauding, like, the guy would say, and, he has over 4 million. Oh my gosh! It was like if you go and, you know, I don't know, you're with a group of family and you haven't seen them for long and you're catching up on what you're doing, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's fantastic!" It was just so like, "This is so sweet and nice, and they're so friendly." I mean, it was just so great.
Yeah, it was very Canadian, right? Like
Yeah, it was just like, "You guys are so friendly." I mean, I just feel like, I love my country, but I will be honest, I feel like here people would be looking at it more as, "What can I use him for? What can we do?" Rather than just "Oh, well, isn't this great? This is just so wonderful." Or here, it would be more of someone had an agent and the agent had a contact and so set it all up, and so it's not really real. It's just some type of publicity type of thing, whereas it's just like, it was just really sweet.
What?
And I saw his post where he called out the SkeptVet.
So, I had never known who the SkeptVet was before, so that was interesting. F
Did
that
you
guy.
like, you just didn't know the person behind the name?
Yeah, like, I knew his website, but I didn't know who the guy was behind the scenes.
It's funny because I actually really enjoy his content, the SkeptVet, that is. And I know that's not a popular take, but I do. I think it's important for me to really sit down and take in what someone thinks that doesn't think like I do, because it's so easy for me to fall into the a bubble of other people who feed raw and, this is so great, and anyone who doesn't do this is insane, and if you think kibble is good, like, I had a conversation with someone. I mean, not really a conversation, but just sort of like a brief interaction with someone on social media who said they could never in good faith recommend kibble to anyone. And I was just sort of like, well, what about someone who can't afford kibble or doesn't have access to raw feeding and, and stuff like that? Wouldn't you just encourage them to add fresh food to the bowl? And they're like, no, and because they cannot in good conscience. And I remember feeling that way. years ago. I had that opinion too, whereas like it was, you know, not I didn't have a judgment against people who fed kibble. I just felt that as someone who fed raw and was a raw feeding advocate, it was sort of betraying my beliefs to recommend kibble. And it was just like eventually I got over myself and recognized that, hey, in all reality, it's just not feasible for, and I met so many people who just simply could not feed kibble. And I got tired of getting messages from people who were just, they would start it off with, I'm sorry, I don't feed raw. When I'm just sort of like, I don't pay your bills. You don't have to apologize to me. I mean, and I just did not want to I didn't want to make people feel like they couldn't ask me questions because they fed kibble. So I just let that little argument go. All that being said, that's why I enjoy the SkeptVet. I don't agree with the things that he says all the time, but I enjoy seeing what he thinks simply because it helps me understand people who are anti-raw or, against anything that I'm doing for my dogs. It's nice to be able to understand their mindset and where they're coming from, because it has taught me that instead of just basically constantly giving pushback, to actually try and have a conversation with them that's respectful if possible. And, most of the times we're going to have to just agree to disagree and go our separate ways. But I think it does help to be able to have those kind of arguments and beliefs put in front of you and then be able to respectfully and intelligently articulate why you believe differently. So that's why I think he has a purpose.
I definitely I definitely take your point, and I have read his stuff with that eye before. But at a certain point, it just seems like F that guy. Like, oh, gee, wonder what he's gonna say about this. Oh, he's gonna hate it. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, and I think that it's one of those things where as much as hi, sweetie, here is Apollo. As much as I believe that raw is the best for my dogs, the much as all the things that I believe in what I'm doing with my dogs, like I do not use flea and tick treatments on them. I do not expose them to over vaccination or even, you know, gosh, I would even think the vaccines that my dogs are even less than minimal. I mean, the way I raise my dogs and the things that I believe, I know that there are people who don't agree with it. But as passionate as I am about what I'm doing and that it's working, there are people who are equally as passionate that what I'm doing is dangerous and that what they're doing is what's right. So I can see it from his perspective. And the reason why is it's hard to put it with dogs because my thought is these are my dogs. Unless you're willing to write me a check, I don't really care what you think about how I'm raising my dogs because you don't pay for it. I do. But when I think about religion, like believe very much in my faith. And anyone who comes along and tries to convince me otherwise, I think that they're absolutely insane. And so that's kind of how I think he feels about Rodney and Karen and anyone who promotes fresh food, because from his perspective, there is no clear evidence that raw feeding is better for dogs than kibble, that there's tons of science behind kibble. I'm gathering that he doesn't believe that there is any connection between the decreased longevity of dogs and kibble. He thinks that, he doesn't believe anything that I
Yeah, he wants you to buy his longevity drug.
yes. I mean, he doesn't believe in any of that. But it's just one of those where I do find it interesting. I find him interesting. And I know that, unfortunately, that video that Rodney did years ago about him, that basically with the creepy music and creepy editing and stuff, just basically painted him as a monster. Um, I think that stung.
So, yeah, I'll make sure we have a link in the show notes if anybody hasn't seen that. Rodney made a post showing that this guy who's known on the internet as the SkeptVet has been identified as the director of veterinary science for this company called Loyal that's coming out that's promoting a longevity drug for dogs and has taken, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars, basically to be in the pharmaceutical industry for dogs. And it's like, oh, gee, can't imagine why this guy's blasting all of the natural methods of
Yeah.
healing and diet all over the internet when he has a financial interest in a pharmaceutical company, So it just, once again, it's just kind of like a follow the money kind of situation. And
Yeah.
maybe that guy didn't start his platform to do that, but, it certainly, has led
I don't
to it.
really know what he started to do. What bothers me, and I guess what I'll never understand, is I feel like there's plenty of space. There's plenty of room for a natural niche in the pet area, or, a holistic niche in the pet area. There's plenty of room for people who want to deal with traditional stuff and pharmacology. And there's no need for me to tear you down, or them to tear me down.
And this is different from the rapamycin trial that the Dog Aging Project is doing, just to be clear, because we just talked to him last week about that. This is a totally different thing.
I posted something months ago where it was basically, I would rather start doing natural things that are preventative and go that route towards increased longevity than to choose a a drug that hasn't truly been tested. I mean, the average life of a dog is maybe 10 years, 7 to 10 years. I would need to see like 15 years of this drug to see, does it really improve longevity? Because there are just so many things that impact why our dogs are living a shorter life. I also feel like, for me as a human, if I'm smoking and drinking and not exercising and not moving and basically just eating tons of horrible junk food, if I'm doing all of that and then at the end of the day, I just pop a pill thinking that that's going to erase all the damage I just did, I just don't think that's how it works. And so I don't feel comfortable with the idea of a longevity drug. I'd rather see more work put into cancer research and other,
Yeah,
allergies.
poisoning us with the food that we're eating.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's what I would like to see. I find it ironic. Maybe that's not the right word, but it feels ironic that we're constantly eating highly processed foods, both humans and dogs. And the response to that is a pill. Oh, so we're all overweight? Here's a pill for that. So you can lose weight. Oh, we're all like, we have all of this carbs and it's screwing up our brain and bringing on mental health issues. No problem. Here's a pill to deal with it's like everything is to treat the the result of like poor lifestyle, poor diet, high stress, all of these type of things. We're being given a pill to deal with all of the side effects of our lifestyle rather than taking a step back and actually addressing and improving our lifestyle and our diet. And that's just a thing that I don't understand. And I would think that as a veterinarian or just a scientist, a doctor, you would get that. I mean, I see it's being talked about in the human world, and it's just like still not being talked about enough, in my opinion, in the pet world. And it's just like, but they'll sit there and tell us that, yeah, we test on dogs because it's similar to humans, and it's like, okay, but you figured out with humans that we need to improve our diet, we need to get more exercise, we need to reduce our stress, we need to do all of these
But
things.
we're insane people for thinking that the
Yeah.
same should be done for our dogs. Yeah.
I just don't understand. And so that's the thing that, when it comes to the SkeptVet and any traditional veterinarian who pushes back as aggressively as he does, and there are many of them out there. I mean, I have been lucky enough to very rarely encounter them they usually look at me as just some crazy person that they won't spend time with, and that's perfectly fine. Um, there was one woman who was upset with me for recommending garlic, and when I explained that I'm not recommending garlic, I'm explaining why I give garlic to my dogs. She made a point of, no doctor or veterinarian would ever recommend garlic. So I did an entire video showing all the books, and I opened them up to the page, and I was like, here it see right here. It says here, this book is by Dr. Karen Becker. And she says this right here. This book is by Dr. Barbara Royal. And she says this right here. Here's a book by Dr. Connor Brady. He says this right here, and so on and so forth. And she said she accused me of attacking and bullying her, which is always just, it's like me if you and I get into an argument, so I'm just going to call you racist and be like, what? And it's like, no, no, it's not how that works. It's like you said that no one, and I'm showing you that, hey, these people, and it's okay. It's okay for you to still think that it's wrong. It's okay. I'm just explaining this is why I do it, and this is where I get my information from. And so that's probably the biggest disappointment I have with the SkeptVet and people like that, is that you can't have a conversation with them. And they can be a bit vicious. And I think he tends to be, he has an opinion about Rodney Habib and Dr. Karen Becker. He has very strong opinions. I don't think that video that Rodney made about him helped at all. And I don't think he'll ever get over it. But I think he just has strong opinions, because his article reviewing the Forever Dog, the first book, is long. It's so long, as he's just basically going through and debunking one thing after the other after the
But
other.
not really.
Yeah. I mean,
But not like in like any kind of neutral fashion, like
yeah.
not in a way that was like
It's
honest and took in all the.
Well, it was very, you could tell, you can feel it. He had an agenda. He does not like this duo, and he's just going to tear it apart. And to me, when it comes to like the studies that people share on social media that support raw feeding, I think that there are some that is like, that's a reach. I mean, I could see what you mean, but no, that's not what this study says. Or this study is about rats and, type of thing. It's not, I mean, yeah, we can sit there and say, if they continue doing more studies, we can apply this to dogs. But I can understand why a veterinarian would be like, yeah, no, this is not something that you should be focusing on, which is why I don't go into my vet's office with a stack of studies, because I'm just not willing to have this back and forth with them about it. So it's okay. But yeah, I think that there's a way of, when you very much believe something, that you read a study with a little bit of a slant. And I think people in the fresh food community do this, and I think people who are anti-raw do this as well. So we can all be reading the exact same study and walk away with completely different information. But to be perfectly honest, I don't think it's that deep. I don't feel like I don't need to go after someone else who thinks differently than me. Like there are tons of people. I mean, what is it? Dr. Connor Brady a few weeks ago called out a group that he said was sharing, very dangerous information. I know of a group that I will not name that I think should be taken off of Facebook, and the people in the group should not be allowed on social media or not be allowed to talk to dog owners ever again, because I think that the information that they're sharing is dangerous. But that is my opinion. And so what I do is I just don't belong to that group. It's quite simple. But I don't write tons of articles about the group and and debunking the group. And I don't make my living going after the group. So just an
Yeah, and I
opinion.
think it's just always a reminder that when somebody has an agenda, follow the money.
Yes, there it is. So going back to our list. Um, ooh. Yeah, I saw this. Environmental scientists in England are urging veterinarians to stop using chemical flea and tick products because of the harm to waterways and wildlife. And it's just like, it sucks that this is only in England.
I know. And they're saying literally, don't use them unless your dog actually has fleas. Stop using them just in case or preventively. Only use it as a treatment.
And I saw that. I can't remember where it was, but it was on Facebook where someone was saying the same thing, where they would get calls from people who were like, what flea and tick treatment do you recommend? And their question is, does your dog have fleas? And it's like, well, no, I just want to prevent them from having fleas. And it's like, then why are you doing this? I mean, I've seen it here because we don't have heartworm in our state, but people will still give their dogs heartworm medication because they want to prevent heartworm. And it's like, yeah, but it's actually not something in our state. The only heartworm positive dogs we've had in Washington were from other states that were brought in. But you still can't. I mean, even having that conversation with someone is like basically banging your head against the window, where because they'll just say, yeah, but I'm just preventing it. And it's just sort of like, yeah, I don't I don't know. I'm trying to explain that there's nothing to prevent. I mean, granted, yes, this can change, but it's been heartworm negative for decades. And I mean, it's never been a heartworm positive state.
Right, right.
But yeah, there's no getting around it. I mean, we have a pond with fish in it. And so that's like my concern is putting chemicals on my dogs. And because they do play around and swim in the pond, and then it's like it kills the fish. Our pond also feeds to other waterways in the area. So it's not an isolated pond. And we have like ducks that swim in our pond, the duck couple that comes back every year. They're a throuple, actually. So there's three of them. And they come and they have their little babies swimming around in the pond. So there's them. We have deer that drink out of the pond, and we also have coyotes. And I just don't want to make everyone sick.
I don't know why that's so hard to believe, like, it's not good. And also it talks about how as people, it gets into our skin if we're not wearing gloves or something, but
Yeah.
also that because it stays on our dogs for 28 days, you're gonna touch your dog at some point over
Yeah.
28 days. It's gonna be transferred to you.
My dogs sleep in bed with me.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah. And it's just like, so I mean, I'm fortunate. I don't have a huge flea problem with my dogs. So I can get away with Wonderside and Kin and Kind. I mean, and I don't even spray my dogs daily. And we do, there's been times when, I've gotten a couple bites and it's like, ah, damn it. And I just wash the sheets and bedding, vacuum the floors, spray the dogs down, and we're good. But again, I'm very lucky. I don't ever have a huge outbreak where it's just like a huge mess and none of my dogs have, like the allergy to flea bites. So it's not something that I thankfully have had to deal with. So I know because it can be hard for some people, and it's got to be frustrating, especially in states where fleas not only are abundant, but they seem to be superpowered and have become used to the chemical treatment. And they're just sort of like,
Yeah, I've
bring it
heard that
on.
before. Yeah. And again, I would never judge anybody using it to try to get rid of fleas on their dog, but it's just, does everyone in America need to be doing it all of the time, all year round, knowing the environmental impact that it's having on all of us? Is not just animals, it's affecting us too,
Yeah, definitely.
and our water supply and everything else.
So, indoor air quality. The microbiome, 5 tips for a microbiome friendly air quality. You said that to me. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited because I'm doing many of the things on the list. So I'm pulling it up, and I do have potted plants around the house. I mean, everywhere. I don't have a very good green thumb. So most of my plants are the hard to kill type of plants.
That's what I need.
Yeah, this one behind me, this thing is amazing. You can just get one and it'll turn into this in no time. I mean, I need to actually repot it. It's a snake plant for people listening and can't see me pointing.
I can see it, but I couldn't have told you what it was.
And then there's tons of what is it called? Succulents and cactus. I have the cactus without the sharp spiky things, and then succulents, and those I do very well on. So I have those. 2 was open the window indoors and let healthier outside microbes in, especially if you have a garden and trees close by. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I am surrounded by trees. We do open the windows on nicer days just to let the house air out, and especially in the spring and summer. And then avoid long periods of isolation. The alpha and beta diversity of microbiome is significantly reduced in dogs spending time indoors and alone. Gut bacteria biodiversity underpins immune system health and protects against multiple diseases. So my dogs do not get a lot of alone time. I work from home, so that's part of it too. There's multiple of them. But yeah, so I'm grateful that I'm lucky enough that I don't have to go into work every day. And number 4, and by anyone's listening, this is by Carol Hughes, and the group is Biome for Pets.
It's kind of like the animal biome of England.
I mean, it's like great information.
It's
I
a
actually
great
joined
group.
the group.
Yeah,
I
it's a great group.
I I'm looking for good groups to join because I swear if I see one more post of someone whose dog has a severe health issue and they're asking for advice in a group, and although I totally understand why, I really understand why, but it's like you just know this person is just about to get inundated with a ton of bad information
Or
from very
else
unqualified people who are
27
just
people like, "Go to the vet!"
yeah, I mean, it's just yeah. So I've left all the groups, or I've left many, many groups because I just can't. 4, avoid strong cleaning products that claim to get rid of microbes. Microbes find mechanisms to survive and become resistant. Once these find their way into the gut microbiome, they launch a takeover bid and form strong biofilms that cause inflammation. That I didn't know.
That's
Thankfully,
fascinating.
um, I I basically clean with water because we have hardwood and tile floors, and mop them up every other day, and I just use hot water to mop them up, and it's fine.
I use a lot of
Um,
Dr. Bronner's.
yeah. Number 5 is open the curtains. Natural light gets rid of some of the more dominant and less beneficial microbes while increasing the rare and more beneficial species. We got rid of all of our blinds because we don't live on a road where people can drive by and see into our house. Our house is set further back. I don't know how many feet, probably like 150 feet from the main road. So people, they can see the house, but they can't see inside the house. Um, and so we feel comfortable with no blinds. So because when we were painting down here, we took out the blinds because they were 20 years old, and then we just were like, let's just keep them off because we hated them, and we've been fine ever since. So and we're doing the same upstairs, taking all the blinds down.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm sure. Actually, I want to get shades for the upstairs, but the downstairs stays. I think there's one room that has shades in it, and the bathroom has a little curtain thing. But that's about it. So tons of natural light coming in the house.
Yeah.
So for today, it was so rainy and dark. I mean, it was just like oh man. And I was actually really happy that Johan put in all these bright ass lights around the house because I just went and turned on a light somewhere to make it feel like, oh, there's some light. There we go.
It
Yeah.
was actually it's like supposed to be 50 to 60 degrees here all week. Like until Sunday, I think it goes back down again. But that just means it's all muddy again. The only good thing about it being cold was all the mud was frozen.
That's what we have. We have 50 to 60 degrees all week, and it's raining for most of the day. Today, tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. It's just, ugh. I mean, yeah. I try not to let the rain get to me, but sometimes, yeah, it's a bit much. Okay. So, yeah. So, thank you for recommending her. That was so cool. That was so cool. So, you had an intuitive session. I actually think I want to have an intuitive session too
Yes.
with Magical Mutts Michelle Thomas, and it was
Yeah.
awesome, according to Erin in her email to me. Um, it was awesome. So tell me what it was about. What did you learn?
So it was very interesting. I went in to talk mostly about Neno, but because so much of it is on has to do with the Neno Nessie situation. A lot with Nessie was coming through first and most importantly. And so this is one of those things where I didn't send her any photos. She didn't even know the name of what dogs I was asking her about. And she says to me, well, Nessie, her mind is just like go, 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 go. And she needs a lot of stimulation. And she knows that she can get into trouble if she's not being active, and that she can be a little impulsive at times, and that Neno annoys her, and that basically she would respect him more if he like challenged her a little bit, but he's such a like passive guy that it just like annoys her.
Mhm.
So this was just very funny and just completely comports with what we see in their behavior, because sometimes she'll like run right up to the gate and he'll just like turn and walk away, and you can see that she's kind of like baiting him to be like, come on bro, like. And he's just like, nope, I don't want any problems. It's just a very funny dynamic with them, and she completely was describing it appropriately. And she made some like dietary and like supplement recommendations for Nino that made a lot of sense.
Mhm.
She actually recommended, and she was talking about energetics not from the Chinese medicine standpoint, but
Mhm.
kind of like for instance, Nino should not eat rabbits. Rabbits are a prey animal that are very anxious creatures, and Nino is a very anxious creature. So she was recommending things for him like bison, because, that's like a very grounded, like that he should be, consuming animals that are like very grounded. So I actually went and got him some bison broth today so that we could start warming his food with that. I'm having trouble finding gently cooked bison because he's my older guy now. He's on gently
Mhm.
cooked. If anybody has any gently cooked bison recommendations, let me know. So I'm looking into some of the other things. She also recommended more lion's mane for him. So I thought I've done that one kind of off and on in different with different combinations that he's been on. So I
Mhm.
think I need to keep him on that more regularly. So that was just really interesting. A lot came through about Penny. Um, I got kind of emotional, and at one point, like, it basically kind of came out that Nino considers Penny his mom,
Mhm.
and that he, like, misses going on walks with his mom, and that she does still come and visit him, and, uh and he considers Tim his dad or his papa. And then she said, "Well, what about Erin, me?" And this is hilarious. He calls me vroom vroom because I'm just running around all the time, spreading love everywhere with everything I do.
Oh, that's nice. See, I sent a message because now I would like to do one. That would be fun, and then we can talk about them.
Yeah,
That
and,
that is so s
the other thing that I just thought was really interesting too was she was calling in guides for Nessie of other female pit bulls that have like a very like strong maternal instinct, to help show her that she doesn't need to be so challenging, and that she can get love and attention for being calm and being, she doesn't have to. And Nessie, by the way, wants everyone to know her name. I should be sharing her on social media more. And she wants to be known for both her brains, because she's very, very smart and can do very many things, and her beauty. She's not picky about how you know her. And I was like, that tracks. We always joke like it's all Nessie all the time. Like, so anyway, it was such a great experience, and totally recommend.
Yeah, I would be very curious about so many things. Well, first about Apollo and his level of confidence and the fact that he loves people so much. I mean, he tolerates dogs, but he really loves people. Um, Bella, I'm just very curious about her. She's so afraid of everything. It's just hilarious. But then what's funny is that she's so comfortable. Like the other day, she did a big Superman fly off the bed and landed on Apollo and started chewing on his ears. And he's just laying there dealing with it. And I'm just sort of like, you're not afraid of Apollo, though. I mean, it's like you're afraid of the noises or anything like that. But Apollo, no, she loves Apollo. And then just, how Zoe's doing. I mean, Zoe's been doing really good, but I think the thing that saddens me is Zoe and Scout. I mean, they were siblings, and she loved her brother so much, and she doesn't have that anymore. I mean, she plays with Apollo and she plays with Bella, but it's just sort of like her Scout is gone. And so I'd be curious to know just how she's doing. It's always nice to just check in. It'll be interesting. We'll see if I do it.
Oh, yeah, I had first heard about her from Angela Ardolino's podcast a couple months
Yeah.
ago, so, I was as soon as I heard it, I'm like, "Okay, I gotta try this."
Okay. Well, it's like it's nice. Her fees are pretty reasonable. I mean, I know that because a lot of people's fees can be very expensive. For a 30-minute session, it's $118 but you can have a remote mini session for $55. So I think that that's, something that's within a lot of people's budget, especially if you're looking for something particular about a dog. That's pretty cool. Um, so podcast shout outs.
So,
So
am I the last person on earth to find out about the Mind Jam podcast?
apparently, you and me both, because I didn't know either.
So, this
And
is a
yeah,
secret, everybody.
to catch people up, Erin and I were chatting, and she was just like, "I wish that they would just put the mind or their lives
The inside
onto
scoop.
the Inside Scoop lives onto a podcast, so that we can go back and revisit it or just listen to it when we can't listen to it.
Yeah,
Blah
because
blah
I
blah."
can never watch it live, like, I can never catch it live,
Yeah.
and trying to do it through the Facebook video is, like, not a, like, great platform for when you, like, have to hit pause and come back to
Mhm.
it, you're always losing your spot, and I'll catch the first 15 or 20 minutes, and then, like, I can never find my spot again, and I just get aggravated.
Yeah. So she shared that, and me being the friend that I am, took her complaint and sent it directly up the flagpole to Rodney. And Rodney was just like, "Well, as a matter of fact, we've had a podcast for years." And it's not the Inside Scoop because Facebook owns that name.
So, yeah, they
So
can't call it that.
so they can't call it that. It's their Mind Jam podcast. So wherever you are following podcasts, wherever you're listening to this, you can go and find theirs too. So if you have the same frustrations that Erin just shared,
Or
problem solved.
hidden inside scoop. You still hear the conversation. And they had an excellent topic recently, and it was the one that prompted me to have that whole frustration with you, share that with you, was with somebody who is one of the certified veterinary behaviorists. And this topic of medicating dogs for their behavior, whether it's long term or in like the short term, if for vet appointments or something,
Mhm.
if you have a dog that can't be handled like Nessie. And I don't love the idea of medicating my dogs for anything ever, right? Like if I don't have to. So, and then there's this whole fear-free movement, but a lot of that is predicated like sometimes it seems like they go to medication very easily. But at any rate, hearing Dr. Becker's perspective, hearing this woman's perspective who had been working as a dog trainer since she was like a kid, basically going through like 4-H or something with her dogs, like, and then going to vet school and doing all this. Oh my gosh, it was really helpful for me. And just all of the different factors that they consider and how they make these decisions and what the different drugs are. And anyway, I was like, this is gold right here.
Yeah, I love that. And so, additional podcasts, Charlie and Larry of Podega have a new podcast, Next Level Pet Parent. And Kara of Raw Paws Adventures, I don't know if that's still her platform, has a podcast, Raw Remedies, Natural Health for People and Pets. So I love it. There are so many people coming out with podcasts nowadays. It's just like I get so excited. It's just the same thing as oh, there's a I don't know if it's happened already. Did it happen already? The Dr. Loudon's event, or is that this upcoming
I
weekend?
think that's upcoming, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Loudon's event, which is it appears to be more for people who have a business in the pet space and basically how to promote it. And they have a lot of people, they have a huge lineup of people um, who are showing, basically how to maneuver through social media, blogging, a lot of the things that'll just basically help you build your business. It's interesting because someone asked me why I wasn't speaking at it. And I was just like, well, they didn't ask me. And two, I don't have any advice for people who have a business because although I have technically a business license, what I do is not the same as someone with a brick or mortar business or someone who offers consultations. It's just a completely different space. And also, it's kind of hard. My business actually is social media. So all my focus is on learning more about social media and the fun of that. And did I tell you I had another consultation with Meta?
I saw you mentioned it, yeah.
I'm like I'm loving Meta right now because they were being so nice to me. It's just like I learned so much from the second one. I mean, I learned so much from the first one too, but it's like wow. But it was nice because they basically rounded up with me again to talk about how I've been doing since the first time around and give me feedback on what I was doing and it was really kind of cool. It was just very helpful. But yeah, so what I do just can't help them. I actually have a friend, Dayton Cummings. He owns the training business, Kilted Canine, and he's on the East Coast. But he is busy running a business and working with clients and training dogs. And adding social media to that is like adding a completely different job. And in a lot of these businesses, they're like basically an individual running a business unless you're really successful and you can hire someone to do your social media, it's a lot to juggle. And it's just basically something that I can't um, feel like I can really speak to because I mean, just sort of like it's easy for me, but I don't have to deal with clients. I mean, it's just like, but yeah, so that's coming up. And I think it's kind of impressive because I mean, Ruby is speaking of Real Dog Box. I'm trying to think of who Rita Hogan is speaking. I think Dr. Judy Morgan's daughter, I think, is on the panel. And think Larry and Charlie from Podega are speaking. I mean, it's a huge jam pack full of
It
people.
is not
So
a free summit, though.
no, it's not. It's like $200.
Yeah.
I think it's for one type of ticket, it's $200. I think the other ticket, I think there's a VIP ticket as well. So no, it's not a free summit. So it's I can't speak to what it's about or like how beneficial it is, but I mean, I figure that if you are struggling in any of these areas, maybe it might be worth the investment in the weekend of getting and I'm gathering that if you pay the money, they'll send you all of the videos so that you can watch them on your own time or rewatch them on your own time. I'm not sure. Um, I I no longer sign up for online summits or anything like that. I don't know if I've shared this here, but I did one this past summer. It was good, but it was not worth the price that I paid, and I paid a hefty price. It was not worth that. But then what's funny is months later, I did one where it was obviously an introduction so they can promote a higher price point type of item. And so it was $50 and then or actually no, it was free. Um, and it was very good. I had pages of notes from just the free one. And then I did do a $50 one. This was a few months ago. And that again was another one that was pages of notes. It was very good. So, I don't know. Just depends.
Yeah, they have a heck of a lineup though on the I'll make sure we have a link to that. I don't know if this will be out in time, but
I know. So anyway,
I think that was everything on the list.
I know it was a lot. It was a whole lot.
All right, well, have a good night.
Yes, it was wonderful talking to you. Thanks for
Bye,
listening, guys.
guys.